Receiving a photo from one of his lackeys, Kirishima Miyama would love the girl in it to mess up his life. In Osaka, at the Somei residence, Yoshino asks her grandfather about the latest tabloid involving the Yakuza world. Given her grandfather, Renji, was a direct descendant of the Kirigaya Yakuza, he was excited seeing the older manly image of himself. Yoshino didn't care about that though. She wanted to know why it said, "The grandchildren of the two groups have been very close for a long time. Their engagement may be just around the corner." She'd never even met the grandson of the Miyama Yakuza from Tokyo, so she wondered how she could be getting engaged to him. Turns out, her grandfather spread the rumor. Since she was 17 and always seemed so lonely, he'd been looking for a partner for her, citing the Miyama grandson to be handsome, looking just like the grandfather, Gaku. When he was young, Yoshino's grandfather was good friends with the grandfather from the Miyama family. Renji told Yoshino she was beautiful because of his genes, and it was going to waste without giving him an heir. And even though everyone in town agreed on her beauty because of her face, she was often called Hostess of Umeda, or Mrs. Divorced with Kids. Her grandfather tried to console her and encourage her to go to Tokyo to see Kirishima. She wondered if that was some kind of alias, but her grandfather assured her the boy was not a Yakuza, but a regular high schooler. Arriving at the Miyama house, she was blown away by how huge it was. Inside, she met with Gaku, and he truly was handsome in her eyes. He complimented her on looking just like Renji, and she affirmed people often say she looked just like her young grandfather, but as a woman. Nervous, however, she asked to know where Kirishima was, and turns out he was right behind her. Smiling, he introduced himself, taking her by the shoulder to show her around the house, learning it was a remote house that was renovated for her, separate from the main house. Yoshino felt bad, since she didn't know whether or not she'd truly choose to stay here, but even so, Kirishima was polite, telling her it was totally fine for her to decline living here. He figured she was being forced, saying what she thought previously, an arranged marriage between two people that have never even met before, and calling it an outdated custom. Kirishima figured this wouldn't work out, but when he heard she was coming to see him, he was really happy. Later, at Oren Private School, we learned Yoshino was so impressed with Kirishima, she transferred immediately, but couldn't shake the feeling her grandfather took advantage of her. After chatting and getting walked to class by Kirishima, she thought he really didn't seem like he was from a Yakuza family. She was relieved he was so normal. In class, she was shocked to find 3 girls wanting to talk to her. Since no one ever wanted to talk to her at her old school, they had heard she had come to school with Kirishima and wondered if she was his relative or girlfriend. Upon hearing she was neither of those, the girls slammed her desk, saying they didn't believe her. All of a sudden, Yoshino's school experience was now not so pleasant. No matter where she went, she could tell all the girls were staring at her. However, Kirishima was still wonderful. He was surprised to hear from her he was so popular, given most of the other students didn't really talk to him. But it made sense since everyone knew he was the grandson of a Yakuza. Yoshino didn't know they knew that, and now wondered if they were all afraid of him because of that. But Kirishima just smiled on, saying if the Yakuza did start anything, they could just be reported to the police and be taken care of. As long as people know that, there's no need to be afraid. Even with his explanation, Yoshino paused, wondering if Kirishima felt annoyed from the strange looks people gave him. His response became unsettling and somewhat cynical, saying, "Who knows? I haven't given it that much thought, and who cares anyways?" Yoshino was not prepared for his switch in tone, but seeing he switched back to being positive and cheerful, she disregarded it. Lying in bed that night, she got up suddenly, unable to sleep at all. She was freaking out, and reflecting on how Kirishima seemed like a different person in that small moment at the staircase. She stepped out of her room to get some water, and noticed light outside the window. Taking a peek outside, she spotted Kirishima covered in blood, but then hid from view to avoid being spotted. Heaving in panic, she now knew he was a Yakuza. At school, she just couldn't stop thinking about it, but tried to deny what she saw, convincing herself it was hallucination from lack of sleep. She then overheard some girls talking shit about her, calling her flashy and saying they were shocked if Kirishima actually liked her. One of them even made up a rumor about how she was working in the sex industry to pay off her debts while giggling. Man, what a pain. This was exactly like how it was back in Osaka. After school, while she and Kirishima were out shopping for supplies, she told him she needed to withdraw money at the convenience store and said she'd be back quickly. On her own though, she found herself surrounded by 3 men who reeked of alcohol. She wondered if she was getting hit on? In her whole life, she'd never once been approached on the streets other than by old man Mr. Imai at the shopping district. They grabbed her by the shoulder to escort her, despite her telling them someone was waiting for her, telling her not to resist. One of them was suddenly grabbed by Kirishima, who kindly told them she was shopping with him. The guy he was holding tried to grab his arm, and this is when Kirishima's expression changed, as he twisted the man's arm back and smashed a bottle over his head. The 2 other men became nervous, seeing Kirishima's twisted smile, and after taking them out, he just kept slugging one of them over and over, so much Yoshino begged him to stop. Kirishima turned, smiling, saying he'd be just a bit longer though. Patting the unconscious, beaten half-to-death man, Kirishima told the man he better remember his face, and that girl is my woman. So don't even try to talk to her if you see her again. You can tell your buddies about me in as much detail as possible. Feel free to come back for revenge. But I'll slaughter you and all of your family. Got it? The man agreed before being let down. Now walking away with Yoshino, Kirishima explained the sheltered life she experienced, given everyone in her town knew she was the granddaughter of the leader of the Somei. Someone was also probably with her at all times who didn't look like a criminal. He warned her to be careful here though, since this wasn't Osaka. Before continuing, she pointed out how he still had blood on his hoodie. He didn't think much of it, deciding to take it off. And Yoshino was shocked to see his tattoos. Oh, he just forgot to mention them. But now approaching her, she slapped his hand away. She didn't mean to, he just seemed so intimidating. He sighed, saying this was all too tiresome, and he couldn't do this anymore. A surprising revelation for Yoshino. The tone changed once more, with Kirishima admitting he had high hopes for her being the granddaughter of another Yakuza gang's leader, who was beautiful. He assumed she'd been spoiled, was selfish to the core, and was supposed to be a woman who acted all high. He liked the idea of a woman who's loathed by other women. He loved the idea of being pushed around by a woman who didn't have any female friends, ignored any basic human rights, and messed him up. She sank, unable to comprehend his insane desires, and now he clarified she was more normal than he hoped for. So normal he's gotten sick of her. He thought they'd have fun for a year, but now felt she was too much of a burden. Right now, she was a completely worthless woman to him, and he asked her to at least make him some money to compensate for his time, pointing out her selling points were her face and body. He wanted her to sell them and make his money. He even tried to sell her on the idea of working in a brothel he was involved with, one where if she worked hard in, she could easily make 1,000,000 yen in 2 months. She could use the tagline, classy and clean, with lighter customer-pleasing options. But if she couldn't do that for him, he wanted her to leave, go back to Osaka, and tell her family exactly what he told her. He'd be perfectly fine to spark another gang war. Maybe they'd have him hanged. He was looking forward to the conflict. Yoshino never imagined a twisted man like Kirishima could exist in this world. She really wondered if she should go back. Checking her shoe cubby, she was shocked to see mud all over her stuff. This was her first time experiencing school bullying. She tried taking a picture of it for her grandfather, but now wondered what that'd actually do for her. Washing her shoes out in the evening, the sound of returning home to Osaka sounded so tempting. She then heard her phone ringing, and it was her grandfather, as cheerful as ever. He could tell she was sad, but told her she needed to stay there for 1 year. Even if she got bullied or played with, he told her not to come back, no matter how hard it got. He told her to spend a year making that Miyama boy fall in love with her to the point that he'd die for her. Then, after a year, she should come back and leave him without mercy. That was the most effective revenge against a man. He explained that women used to dump him all the time too, and honestly thought he was dead when 3 women threw him into the river after they found out he was playing them, with the call ending from her grandfather's chuckles. She only thought of how all the men around her were trash. Whatever though, since her grandfather insisted, she planned to do exactly as he expected. At one of his jobs, Kirishima talked with Aoi about how Yoshino's been gone for 2 weeks now. Aoi was concerned, knowing Kirishima's father would kill him, but he claimed he couldn't help it. At school the next day, Yoshino came into his classroom, surprising him since he thought she'd gone back home. She cockily reminded him he said her selling points were her face and body, so throwing her bag on his desk, she told him that's exactly what she did. 1 kidney, 4 million yen. She called some connections and got it done from a friend of a friend of a friend, having it removed by endoscopy. She smirked, telling him she was on a diet from salt for the rest of her life. Getting up and ready to go back to her class, she told him she wasn't going back to Osaka and didn't care what he did moving forward, but there would be consequences for him getting too carried away. She then called out the female students who had chastised her earlier, telling them even if she had to crawl to the floor or choke on her own blood, she'd drag them down to hell with her and f*** their lives up. Kirishima was shocked to see Yoshino's ferociousness. He quickly stopped her from leaving, and with a big smile, said he loved her, taking her aback. This was apparently one of the most thrilling experiences he's ever had in his life. He was surely convinced this feeling was love. He pulled her close, saying he wanted them to get married, and for her to mess up his life. But she wondered what was wrong with his head. And I'm wondering what's wrong with your head if you haven't liked this video or subscribed to my channel yet. It's obviously common sense. Because here at my Shoujo Weekly, I'm gonna cover all the fun stories no one's talking about. Like badass women, they're here. Like hot men, they're here too. I also live stream weekly, where we talk about interesting topics and play games. So come on, hit that subscribe, I'll be your guy. During lunch, we see Yoshino sneaking around, trying to avoid Kirishima. She just wanted to eat in peace, but it's like every free second she gets, he's suddenly there. Crap. She's feeling the pain from her kidney transplant. The stomach and stress are killing her. She felt he had some nerve telling the same girl he told to go sell her body that he loves her. On top of that, he was always smiling, so it was impossible to tell what he was thinking. But of course, he was smiling right behind her. She jolted up, wondering how he found her here, to which he answered, probably his love for her. Just kidding, though he is seriously in love. The real answer was he crammed a GPS in her electronic dictionary. She was furious, smashing her device in half. Ignoring her complaints, he was also here to tell her his father wanted to talk to them. Waiting at home, Yoshino was nervous over what this meeting could be about. However, Gaku was too busy, so Aoi and Sota came in his place. Aoi relayed to them the daughter of Akaza Enterprises' president has gone missing. They were a third-string Tokusa clan affiliate, with Miyama being second to the main clan. She could have just run away or been kidnapped, which wouldn't be a big deal to them, except now they had Yoshino here. So, she was thus ordered to be with Kirishima 24/7 until the Akaza daughter was found. News she was not too eager to hear. Instead of keeping her safely at the house though, Kirishima took Yoshino out for dinner, where he happily watched her eat. All his watching was giving her a headache, so she decided to ask what he really even liked about her, adding that if he thought there was any chance she could fall for him, he probably had flowers growing where he ought to have brain cells. Kirishima just responded in laughter, saying he loved everything about her, but especially her sharp tongue. Despite how nice he was though, she could still feel a threatening aura from him. But also, no one has ever said they liked her before, so she had no basis for comparison. He then presented the photo of the missing daughter, Shiori Akazawa, 20 years old and attends a junior college in Kanagawa. Yoshino couldn't help but ask if her tattoos were real. We learned from Kirishima he chatted with her 2 years ago at a funeral for a consultant to the main family. Shiori was your typical spoiled rich girl. Yoshino wondered if she should be worried if either of them were in danger of being kidnapped as well. However, Kirishima doubted it, since he himself was not related to the patriarch Gaku directly. Gaku decided to not have any kids, meaning no grandkids either. He's actually Kirishima's real grandfather's older brother. But when Kirishima was 12, he caused trouble and Gaku was the only one he could turn to. After taking a quick phone call, Kirishima received the news that one of Akaza Enterprises' men died. The body belongs to an associate member of Akaza Enterprises. He started out as a host and ended up running a handful of restaurants around the city. In particular, he ran gaming rooms and Shiori was a regular at one of those rooms. The killings made sense, since the Tokusa clan only dominated 70% of Tokyo. rest by another. It had been about a 100-year bloody stalemate against enemy turf. Yoshino gets a ride after school after buying a new hairdryer. It's there. Sota explains he'd never had a proper conversation with Kirishima. The first time the two had met was apparently middle school, and he had heard prior that Kirishima had a violent incident in the 5th grade. It was a big enough deal that his parents weren't able to handle it on their own. So, Gaku took care of it, and that's how Kirishima ended up in the family. There were 20 other kids altogether, both classmates and older students with their bones snapped. This was unnerving to hear for Yoshino. Taking a brief stop in traffic, Yoshino noticed the rose-printed tattoos. She spotted Shiori. Sneaking around inside the building Shiori went into, Yoshino called Kirishima. He commented her being missing must have been BS. Her father had been hard to track down lately as well. They were probably both trying to lay low. However, Kirishima didn't explain why. He could now see though the club was Nox Tokyo, a non-Takusa turf that belongs to the Kirigaya Gumi. Coincidentally, that was one of Yoshino's families. It now made sense why no one knew where Shiori was, since Kirishima's family wouldn't be here at all. Hearing that Kirishima and Yoshino decided to retrieve Shiori, Gaku let them go. At the club, Yoshino was not a fan of the loud noise, but Kirishima had no problem guiding her around. Inside the VIP room, we learn Shiori is going overseas for a while. She's apparently glad to be here, having been fed up with people watching her all the time because of her father. The reason she's leaving is because she was caught cheating at the baccarat tables with the dead Yakuza Enterprise member. And against the Filipino Mafia too. She cheated out 500 million yen and had no choice but to pay these guys for protection. Kirishima then kicked the door open, having heard everything. After introducing himself, he walked right over their table, casually sitting beside a girl telling them he meant no harm, but knew Shiori's father was now trying to lay low as well, because his daughter ripped off $500 million from the Filipino mob. He told Shiori to come join him at the Miyama office, because right now, she was causing too much trouble for the main family. But oh man, there are more Kirigaya Gumi men right behind Yoshino, who smacked her aside. Kirishima did not take this kindly, deciding to assault the men he was near right away. He immediately jabbed a fork into one of them. No way was he gonna let someone disrespect his girl. A brawl began. Yoshino was in pain, but seeing Kirishima beating the men up, she remembered what she heard about his past. Wondering how the man before her could hit someone with all his strength. She felt weak and didn't want to feel this way any longer. Kirishima continued his relentless assault, getting stabbed from behind with a knife. And as someone else was coming from behind him with a bottle, Yoshino smashed her new hairdryer right on the man. She was pissed, telling the man to die. Kirishima was angered that the man made his girl bleed, so he continuously punched the man in the face over and over. Yoshino hit Kirishima on the head, explaining there was no need to kill someone over a little blood. She then spotted Shiori, hoping she wasn't dead. However, Kirishima didn't care if she was. He was too depressed, seeing Yoshino bleeding. Later, we learned President Akaza got away with just being expelled, and his daughter ultimately did end up overseas, since she wasn't safe in Japan. Kirishima also received a beating, since he made a bunch of trouble on the Kirigaya Gumi turf. But he happily gave Yoshino 10 million yen. It was his cut of the 500 mil split between the Filipino Mafia and his family. In exchange for finding the girl and President Akaza, they decided to split the money down the middle and call it a day. He wanted to give it to Yoshino since she sold her kidney the other day. Plus, he didn't know how to show he was being sincere outside of giving cash. If that wasn't going to work, he'd be fine selling his corneas. Yoshino didn't need his money or corneas, however. She just needed a new hairdryer and for him to come along, to which he happily complied. However, Kirishima spotted a man outside the school on a motorcycle. A man who, taking off his helmet, continued to stare at them. One who, even though Kirishima tried to cheerfully ignore talking to Yoshino, he was still in the back of his mind. One evening, the girl Kirishima's been fooling around with asks if he's gotten a girlfriend. He gets excited, wanting to tell her about Yoshino. However, the girl wonders if this really was the appropriate time to talk about another girl to her. He showed her the picture and boy, she couldn't stand Yoshino's look. She told Kirishima to give up on Yoshino, assuming she hated him and that maybe she had a guy she likes back in Osaka. But then, Kirishima answers competing for her would only make things more thrilling. Trying to sleep, Yoshino could feel someone watching her. Half asleep, she thought it was her grandfather at first, but then remembered this was Tokyo. She woke up, eyes wide, wondering if that was all a dream, but now realizing it must have been Kirishima. But how could he have gotten in if she locked all the doors? She then thought about what he wanted with her. Could he have finally gotten tired of her enough to warrant killing her? About to drink her water, she gets annoyed with herself for getting used to his eccentricity without becoming even a little bit upset. She's becoming desensitized. She's now decided to change the lock on the front door and keep her kitchen knife close for self-defense. Trying to sleep tonight, she could totally tell he's here, and he had blood on his face. Whatever he was gonna try, she was ready with her knife. However, she was shocked to feel him braiding her hair. She was at her limit and couldn't take it anymore. She tried to strike with her knife, but he caught her and pinned her to the ground. Now he was saying she scared him because he had no idea she was awake. But of course, she was the one scared of him. He picked her up and apologized. Then she bopped him on the head, calling him annoying. She wanted to know what was going on and how he got in here. To which he explained he duplicated the key with aluminum a while ago. Completely irritated, Yoshino told him it was time for a lecture. She started telling him he couldn't just come and go into her room as he pleased. Not because it was common sense, but simply because she didn't like it, and he accepted. He then answered why he was sneaking around in her room at night. It's because he's only seen her face when she was mad at him, and someone told him she might hate him. So, he wanted to see her sleeping face, because surely no one could be mad while sleeping. And he could look at her as much as he wanted. She replied of course she was mad at him all the time. All he did was commit crime. But now she was concerned about him looking beaten today. He just laughed it off, saying he got punished by Aoi for staying out past his 1 AM curfew, which he almost never obeyed, by the way. Yoshino considered being less angry with him if he started coming home by curfew. One of her gripes with him is he never followed a single rule, and also, he's been playing around with other girls. She could tell he was a liar, just like her grandfather. One thing that crossed Kirishima's mind was the fact that Yoshino noticed all this, and yet she wasn't angry about it. In her mind though, it was none of her business. But if a guy she actually liked cheated on her, she'd kill him. So by that logic, Kirishima was now determined to make her want to kill him. He was happy every day with her by his side. In fact, he always wanted to come home as soon as possible because she was here. And he thought going to school was fun because she's with him. He wondered if she hated him. But she explained she wasn't avoiding him because she hated him. She avoided him because she had no idea what he was gonna do. He usually refused to do things he was uninterested in. But when he did do something, he always went all in. She found it refreshing that he didn't put on airs and was always consistent. Those were his good points in her eyes. For now, she was gonna put a bandage on his wounds. But before she could, he pinned her down saying, "I love you too," and that he'd try his best to get her to kill him when he cheats on her. Not the most romantic display of affection in my opinion. On another day, we see Yoshino watering the garden when Kirishima brings her mail from Osaka. He had also gotten a letter from her grandfather, since he sent Renji an apology letter for letting her get injured that night they went to Knox, Tokyo. Her mail was a request for her father's album photos. Her father was quite weak when it came to fights, and he hated Yakuza. Often even argued a lot with her grandfather and left home right after high school and got married. He died in a traffic accident before she was born, so she actually didn't even know how it felt to have a father. Setting the dark childhood past aside, Kirishima explains her grandfather is coming to Tokyo the day after tomorrow for the Goryeo League's meeting. With all the Yakuza leaders meeting, we learn the Kanto Goryeo League is a fellowship of political organizations in the Kanto region. They have a dinner party 4 times a year where top executives of the member organizations get together. It's like a summit for the heads of state. Kirishima presented some photos from the league in the past, and Yoshino spotted his grandfather from when he was younger standing next to hers. She was shocked at how much Kirishima looked just like Gaku. She was also surprised to see how well her grandfather and his seemed to get along back then. Kirishima added they definitely got along, given his grandpa hated cameras. So they only have these 10 photos of him from when he was young, but in all 10, he's with Renji. After the league meeting, we see Renji trying to chit-chat with Gaku, telling Gaku he sounds sleepy and like a wet rag. He then started stuffing black candy he got at the station into Gaku's pockets, despite Gaku protesting. Elsewhere, we see the mysterious guy who was on the motorcycle on the phone with Yoshino. Apparently, he was the one who retrieved her father's photos from Osaka and mailed them to her. She wanted him to check her old room again to retrieve more. On another day, she decided to meet with Takeru Hote, a member of her father's house. He was close to her grandfather and often a bodyguard. He apologized on her grandfather's behalf as he headed home yesterday. He was a busy man. Takeru was curious about Kirishima, and she had no idea how to describe him except with the words masochist, destructive, womanizer, and fake smile. But instead of all that, she just nervously responded Kirishima was mentally strong. Yoshino was surprised to hear Takeru suggesting she bring Kirishima back during summer break. He knew she might find this overbearing. However, Takeru was the one who basically raised her in childhood, since her grandfather was often too busy. Takeru just wanted to see what kind of man he was entrusting her to. She knew though that Kirishima was so eccentric, he'd be willing to fly to Osaka tomorrow. Then suddenly, Shoma Toriyashi arrived. She took him shopping because visiting, he didn't bring any extra clothes with him. With an expressionless look, he told her he was only here to bring her the album, which she thanked him for, but wanted him to have extra clothes since he was staying the night. While he changed, we learn her grandfather took him in during his junior high years after picking a fight with him. After changing, he suddenly came out shirtless, telling the cashier he was ready to buy. However, Yoshino told him to have common sense and put a shirt back on at least. In his private study, Kirishima stares at a photo of Shoma. This was part of his research. We then turned to Shoma eating happily. Yoshino pulled up his sleeve, telling him he needed to hide his tattoos properly. He then asked about Kirishima, to which Yoshino replied she was going to follow her grandfather's plan to make him fall in love with her, and then ditch him. Shoma then added a further purpose she was here for, possibly involving a feud with another Yakuza gang. However, he wasn't totally sure. That night, the two went into Shoma's hotel room. Yoshino wanted to rest since she had overeaten from the buffet. She conveyed the complexity of things, always trying to get the better of Kirishima, always being ready to kill him before he kills her, trying not to show a bit of weakness to him. That's all she ever thinks about every day. But in the end, Kirishima is the only guy she can trust in Tokyo. She was always caught off guard by him, because no matter how much time she spent with him, she never knew his real face. She felt tired, and honestly wished to go back to Osaka with Shoma right now. Shoma had no problem with this idea. If all that was needed was for Kirishima to disappear, Shoma was willing to kill him for her. Yoshino was taken aback, thinking there was no need to go that far. However, Shoma thought things might be better off if Kirishima was dead. She still denied the request, so he was fine waiting until she changed her mind. Smoking outside, Kirishima came by to tell him there was no smoking allowed on this road, then told him, "Nice to meet you, Shoma Toriyashi," while introducing himself. Uh-oh, what's going to happen next? Subscribe to the channel and let me know if I should continue to cover this series. For now though, watch this next video. It's me, ComfyTea. I'll see you all in the next one.